Hey everybody, JB here, and welcome to Prairie Farm, Michigan. We are in October, and we are ready for our very first soybean harvest. But we do have some things to do just before we get that started, so let's get going. Since we can't borrow any more money, we need a little bit of extra cash to be able to afford our grain header. I'm going to sell our corn header, and that'll give us a little bit of extra. And we'll go in here to the harvester section and make sure we're getting the header that's made for our tractor, US version of the RDF 35. So it's a 35-foot grain header. Go ahead and purchase that. And to get it to the farm, we'll go ahead and lease a 35-foot trailer. So once we get it to the farm, I don't think we're going to need the trailer anymore. So we'll lease that and go pick it up. We're just about to pull into the main farm. It's been a pretty good drive. This trailer's pretty good for this header. Might look at investing in the trailer once we expand the farm a little bit. Have to drive a little ways to get to other fields, but we'll stick it right here so the combine can pick it up and we can get started. Pulling the combine out, we got to make sure that everything is unfolded. And there's my one hit for the episode. I've managed to hit the shed. So we'll get this header put on. I already returned the trailer, so the header dropped wherever the trailer had it last. And we'll get up to our starting point here. Get it all lined up as much as we can beforehand. Get the GPS working for us. Come on. There we go. And we'll get ourselves lined up, down, and we are harvesting soybeans. The AI worker is finishing up the very last row of our first soybean harvest. Hopefully this will help us get out of debt, maybe purchase a little bit more land so we can expand the farm a little bit. It's been a rough first couple of seasons. I think what screwed us up is we did a lot of construction and destruction and construction again. But that's all in the past. We just gotta work on what we can get done now. So I'll get this last load put into the grain cart. Get everything washed and put away. Get the grain cart unloaded. You can see in the center of the screen at the top that our dryer is already running. So we're drying our soybeans. We'll get a pretty good price for those. It's usually considerably more than what we get just selling soybeans themselves. Soybeans are a good crop to start out with if you need cash. But drying them is like 10 times better. I may have not thought about the entrance of our shed and how big it is. So, looks like we're going to have to keep this header outside for right now. I don't really want to spend the money on a trailer. So, I think it looks perfect right here. Just stick it off to the side. There we go. Everything's folded up on the John Deere, and we'll get this backed in. Back to its parking spot. I gotta remember to fill it with fuel. You can look at my fuel gauge blinking red on me there, bottom right hand corner. Have to remember that before we start our next harvest. Tab into our grain cart here. And we'll take the last load over to the grain dryer. And this grain dryer runs relatively fast, so this small harvest that we have, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty small harvest. You know, these grain dryers hold over 1 million liters, and we're putting in maybe 100 liters. We'll get our equipment washed and put away. Done with the harvest. I'm a little concerned with how little propane we had in the tank, so I'm leasing a tanker again. And we'll go get this filled up at our hazardous material location. And eventually it would be nice to own these larger farm areas down here. But we got to start somewhere, so start with a small property, work our way up. We'll just try to expand as much as we can. I think we'll stick with the soybeans at least until we are caught up on our loans. And then after that, I don't know, maybe we'll do soybeans and add a couple of different crops in. Maybe wheat. So, yeah, do some wheat. That way we don't have to purchase another header right away. And maybe eventually we'll go back to corn. Since we have the dryer, I'd like to stick with things that I can put into that dryer in order to keep us going. Maybe further down the line I'll look at purchasing some other productions, like maybe oil mill, do sunflower oil, canola oil, that kind of thing. Either that or the flour mill. You can use any grain for that, so you can do oat, barley, wheat. I don't think when we start getting into grains that I'm gonna mess with doing straw, unless at some point we decide to start a dairy farm, which is a possibility. You know, this is a good map for dairy farm too. Use one of the smaller fields on the map for your grass and hay and silage. Either that, or we can use the corn for chop silage, chaff. But I think that's a little further down the line. I want to get this farm expanded first and go from there. See what we can do. The only thing that's really restricting us right now is space. You know, the farm is good for what we've got going on right now, but if we start adding in more farmland down the road, I can see us needing to expand our equipment a little bit, maybe getting bigger equipment to help us get things done faster. And space is probably going to be limited, especially since in the first episode when we were building the farm, we tore down that large shed to put our grain dryer up. We'll get this filled with propane and make sure that it's running good, and move on to whatever we have coming up next. We've moved ahead to March. We're going to go ahead and get our field ready to plant next year's harvest. Get the AI worker going on getting this plowed. Just about to finish up plowing. We'll get all of our equipment washed, gassed up and put away. You can see my gas is pretty low there in the bottom right hand corner for the tractor too. So we'll get that taken care of and move on to planting. But before we start planting, as you can see, our money situation has gotten dire. I'm going through here trying to pick the piece of equipment that I can live without, and that is this grain trailer. So I'm going to go ahead and sell that, give us a little bit extra money to deal with. A lot of this is because I'm using the AI workers. I've got it set to where they automatically refill the seed and fertilizer. I'm just doing that so that it's easier for these videos. Maybe a little bit further down the line, I'll switch over to needing to refill, getting a small grain cart to fill the seed and the fertilizer out in the field and show you how that kind of thing works. But I did it just for the ease of these videos. I do it in my other series too, Riverbend Springs. It's just easier. But when you do that, your fertilizer and your seed cost more than what it would cost for you to purchase them and to put them in yourself. So just wanted to throw that out there. A lot of our money troubles are because of this AI worker and allowing them to purchase the seed and the fertilizer. In the future, I'm going to look at fixing that, or maybe we'll be making enough money in the future where I don't have to worry about it and I can keep it going. Who knows? We're finishing up the last of the planting. We'll get our equipment cleaned up and put away. Move on to the next thing. We are now in May, and it's time to put some fertilizer down. We need to make sure that we have as good a crop as we can for next season. So we'll get the AI worker going on the fertilizer and come back when he's done. Managed to get the whole field fertilized. Thought he was closer than he was, but it's finishing up for us, and we'll get this stuff put away. And the next time I bring you back, we'll actually be ready to sell our first harvest of soybeans. We are in June, and this is prime time for us to be selling our soybeans. Wanted to take a look at what they were selling for right now. And it looks like dried soybeans at the farmer's market is over $4,000. So that's a pretty good jump from the $1,300 that a regular soybean harvest would get. And because I sold our grain cart to keep the farm moving, I had to lease one in order to get our harvest over to the farmer's market. And we're looking at having right around 71,000 liters of dried soybean. So I had to lease a trailer that I thought would be most effective for us as far as cost and how many trips we would have to make. I did find a trailer combination that would allow us to take 75,000 liters. So we should be able to get all of our soybeans over there in just one trip. And we're pulling up to the dealer now. You can see the tandem trailers, and these hold about 75,000 liters. I think I said that already, but anyway, it's gonna keep our trips to a minimum. That way we can get the trailer returned and not have to pay as much in leasing cost. So get this up to the farm and we'll get it filled and head down to the farmer's market. Just pulling in here. We'll get under our grain dryer. Again, space is not our friend. We'll get this cover open and get under. There we go. Move to dried soybeans. So that bin will take just a little over 20,000 liters. Open up the cover on the rear trailer. And looks like the second bin took almost 20,000 as well. Looks like all these bins, the fill is right around 20,000. Alright, so we are up to 71,000 liters. 71,005, 71,252 is what's on there. So we'll get this down to the farmer's market and get it sold and see how much money we made with this harvest. We are just getting ready to pull into the farmer's market. Anybody want to take a guess how much we're going to make? It's going to be a lot more than corn, I'll tell you that. And hopefully this will completely change the direction of our farm. And we can get moving on expanding. Get over the container here. And we'll start dropping. Ooh, it going up quick. With that, I'm going to say we're going to be close to 300,000 probably. Made 83,000 just on that one section of the trailer. Another 83,000. Yeah, this is definitely a lot better than corn. Another 83,000. So we're making about 83,000 a bin. And we're over the 300. Look at that, 302,803. Pretty good guess. We'll get this trailer returned so we don't have to pay anymore. I forgot that it's in two pieces. Yep. All right. And then we'll get back to the farm and close out the episode. Let's take a look at how much we made. So that whole harvest was 293,400. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I'd say that's pretty close to twice as much as we were making with corn. Well, I'd say we got a lot accomplished today between the harvesting, the plowing, the planting, the fertilizing, and selling off last season's crop. It's been a pretty busy episode. Thank you so much for watching part 5. If you like what I'm doing, make sure you like, subscribe, share the video. Hit that notification bell if you want to see any new videos that I come out with when they come out. And if you have missed any other videos from this series, you can check out the Michigan playlist in the top left-hand corner now. Or if you want to check out the Riverbend Spring series, you can see that playlist in the bottom left-hand corner now. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.